All right, if you followed the last video, I mentioned I was going to go looking for the trail they're heading to the park. So I decided to figure out where the middle of the trail would be and to go behind these apartments and up through the shortcut to Walmart and see what I could see from there. So I'm coming up through a neighborhood, and last night we had a 100-mile-an-hour gust come through. Del Richo's, whatever, it's got a name. When a tornado comes through front, straight line winds, it's got a name, begins with a D, Delectro or whatever. It came through here, about 100-mile-an-hour winds. And a bunch of, I have a hickory tree. No, I have a sycamore behind my house. And branches automatically self-prune off that tree, and a bunch of them broke off, and they hit the house like hail, and it was scary as hell. And then the wind just stopped and dropped back. It was still windy the rest of the night, and everybody in the area, even if they're further away, said that they got the same straight line winds that sometimes goes ahead of a cold front. So in that neighborhood, I have to cut through this one neighborhood, and I cut through anything, anywhere that I want to, because everybody now knows who I am. And I noticed there's a can of paint. Somebody put a can of paint out on the top of a garbage can, and it fell down. White paint, and it spilled, and a bunch of cars were running through it. So I picked it up, and I put a bunch of garbage cans around it. And I figure, and I told this one guy, watch out, he had a black car, watch out for that. And then he was gonna tell the guys that run the rental area. It's a big rental area, and I said, all right, you take care of that. I took care of putting the garbage cans around so people don't run through the paint. There's a full gallon of paint on the pavement, and some people had ran through it. And anyway, that's I got from my house a half a block, and that's what I ran into. And I told you I have to get involved. So I got that done. I talked to this other guy. I get up to the top of the development, and I see the cornfield has been harvested, and there's a guy in there with a tractor. No, he'd be a bulldozer. And I got as close as I could because it's muddy. It's real deep. There's usually ticks in there. Anyway, and my footing's not that good. And I get up there, and he goes down one pass, and at first I couldn't see that thing was moving, anybody in there. Now the second pass, I waved my arms, and then he stopped. But then I motioned to open the door. They have plastic doors on these things now. He opens up and he goes, "What's going on?" They go, "What's this going to be?" And he says, "This is the walking trail." I said, oh, "Okay, I think I know the guy." So anyway, I said, "Thanks, that's good. That's what I wanted to know." So then I walked in front of Walmart, and then I go down the ramp. I always talk about this ramp. There's this ramp that goes from Walmart down to Flory Park, and that's for the Amish. So as I'm going down the ramp, something always seems to happen on that ramp. I see this girl running. She's a runner, and she goes by me, and she always waves, and she comes up the ramp. She just stops. She goes, "How you doing?" And I go, "I sort of know you, huh?" She goes, "Yeah, you know." So we got chatting, almost an hour. And this is what makes my day. I mean, I like women that are in really good shape. And but anyway, she's standing there talking to me, and what was the first thing I mentioned? Oh, I mentioned I told her the Chinese story that was over in her neighborhood. I asked her, was she the woman? And she says, no, she sort of heard about it. So I tell her the whole story. And then we start talking about people we know. And it's amazing. Like I mentioned Wilmer Knoll. And at first she looked a little blank. She goes, "No, I know him." And then I said, "Yeah, that's him. The wife's the minister over at the one church." Yeah, I said, they told me by his neighborhood. He has this big farm property. And they told me he died. And I said, he's over on Karen Circle now. So she says, he's going senile. I said, yeah. I said, I went over and I knocked on the door to visit him because I hadn't seen him in a while. He didn't remember me. So I said, yeah, that's the way that goes. So anyway, So we start mentioning all these people. Even I said, you look like Teresa in my neighborhood, and I mentioned her last name. Oh, she goes, yeah, I know her. I know her. She knew the husband. I said, yeah, I know them. I know them since. Anyway, going back and forth, back and forth. So finally, I mentioned I said, Bob died up in the park. In the park, there's a house, and it is Bob Killebrew. Wait, Dorothy Killebrew, Bob Newhouser. He just died in May. So I said, she's going to stay until she dies, and then that goes to the town. That's what they're, now that they own that, they actually own the property now. She can stay in the house, but they're going with the plans for the big park. But anyway, so she goes, I really don't know them. And I go, yeah, you do. She goes, no. I said, Dick, in your neighborhood, yeah, Dorothy Killebrew goes by the name of the Can Lady. And she goes, oh, I haven't seen the Can Lady in a long time. I said, but that's her. Oh, wow. Yeah, I said, she's dying of cancer. Bob died in May. Now Dorothy's right behind him. And Dorothy was a Methodist minister. And she's looking like she never put the two together. That the woman only left, the house in the park's only a block away, but there's a long entrance. You have to drive through the park and up into this house. And it was, I think they bought the property from Flory. That's why it's Flory Park. But anyway, they've been there as long as Flory has. And Flory owned a house next to it, which was an Amish homestead, which was a tourist trap. And now it's all clicking for her. She's putting names and she knows the people. But to stand there and talk to someone, and then she says to me, she likes people. And that's her thing. She goes out for a run and she'll just stop and stand there and talk to someone for an hour. And I said, well, you know me. I walk through her neighborhood all the time. I just stop and I said, why would you want to be alive if you don't want to meet other people and stuff? I understand people that, you get involved with other people. It's a heartache. Yeah, it is. You meet some people that, like yesterday, that guy that's the pedophile, he was mean to me because he wanted to make himself feel better. But now, who now that we know he's on the pedophile list, Megan's Law list, how funny is that now? He can say all he wants about how great he thinks he is, but it doesn't make any difference because he's got a serious problem. But what a pompous asshole that guy was. So anyway, I sort of met him before, and he remembered me, and I'm just meeting too many people, man, and I'm getting too old. And but it's so funny. I'm going down this it's like a ramp. It's a cement ramp. It's got railings on both sides. I'm going down. I see this girl running. It's long. I won't say it's an eighth of a mile, but it's a long distance. And she's coming up, man. Bang! She just stops on a dime, and she's like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "Oh no!" And I'm like, at first I thought it was the other woman in my neighborhood, and it wasn't. But she knew that. She knows that woman. Like, see, all the key people that like other people all know each other. If I had enough years here and did this enough, I would know everybody. And I'm going up the street near her, and I'm naming all the people because they closed that road down to blow it up at the where they put the light because it was too steep. And when you got to the light, you couldn't see that on the other side of the road if a car was coming. So they agreed with everybody and they blew it up and lowered it. And I met everybody. They closed that road down. I walked it every day. And the guy that was dying that came to the park every day, he would walk it with me. He goes, "This is really nice." I said, where do you get to meet some of these people? I think his name was Alfonso. No. Anyway, I could probably, if I thought about it, what his name was. Ralph Chenzo was his name. I think he's since passed. But he had retired, and I got him. I said, "Come on, get out of the car. Go for a little walk." Oh, he was walking the parking lot in a circle. I said, "Look, I know everybody on the street now. We'll walk up. If you get tired, they have lawn chairs and shit. We'll sit down and He's walking. He goes, "This is really nice." He's going to die, but he goes, "This is really nice." And I go, "Yeah, if you need to sit down, I know all these people." Yeah, I get to meet everybody on Stroudsburg Pike for about an eighth of a mile. And they all have money. They're really nice people. And then when you go off Strasburg Pike up into America Avenue, there's a new that's since I got here. That's a new housing complex since I got here. It was half done when I got here, and I walk it every once in a while, and I meet all these people, and they remember me because I always dress the same. I always have a hoodie on, or blue or black on, and I'm not shaven, and I wave to everybody. And after a while, they through these they have these community online groups, and then I'll be talking to someone. They know my name. Like, how do you know my name? I never. Oh, they mentioned you on our community watch that you walk through the neighborhood. I said, oh, okay. It's really hilarious. But the girl I met today, I knew her. I hung out with her several times at yard sales, and she went to a Mennonite school, but she's now non-sectarian. So that's the other thing I do, and you probably say that's not right. But I do ask someone their religion, and that means a lot as far as whether they put themselves out there or not. Um, there's certain groups, different religions. Um, they're not prone to mix with other people. Now I have some Hindu friends, not Hindu, Muslim friends. I walked with them when a couple, two or three of them got laid off, uh, different months apart. Masafa and this other guy and this other guy, and they'd be down at Floyd Park, and they decide, they're depressed because they lost their job. So now they're down in the park walking with me, and I'm the sounding board. I'm letting them vent. I said, you will get another job. It doesn't feel like that now. They're all doing good again. And the one guy, he's a Muslim, and a lot of people don't like him because he's a Muslim. And I hang out with him, and he's hilarious. But anyway, so he's got this tractor trail. Wait, there's a trailer and there's the tractor and there's the trailer. He's got the tractor, and he was parking across the street from his house, and they gave him a hard time over there. So he parks up by Walmart, and then down on my street here, exact same tractor. All right, and everybody's like, "But it's that guy." I said, "Hold on, let me go check." And I went over and no, I come back. I said, "No, that's not his name." I said, "This is a rental." There's somebody had a tractor trailer truck tractor parked on our street for about 2 weeks, and it was in the way. He parked in front of the mailboxes so nobody could get in there. And I'm like, oh, and he also used to park from the back, the final exit curb back. It's 15. I think it's 15 feet back from the stop sign. He just blocked the stop sign, and he didn't get a ticket. But anyway, everybody thought it was this other guy, and I said, no, it's not him. And then I went and bumped into him. He's parked in the Walmart parking lot. And I saw him firing up. It's a diesel. He's firing up. I walked over him. He's laughing. I go, yeah. I tell him the whole story. He goes, no, that's not me. I said, no, I know it's not you. I said, I'm over there telling them it's not you. I have better things to do. But, I don't believe in blaming somebody for something they didn't do. But some people want that. They want to make themselves feel better by demeaning somebody else. And I accept that when I talk to someone, when I come up on somebody, they say something nasty to me, or, I don't care. See, what happens is the next time I go by them, I'll just wave. I won't listen to all their gripes anymore. They're screwed. They've got to find somebody else, But this guy yesterday I was telling you about, man, some of the I'm thinking back, he's got all the answers to metaphysical stuff and all that. You got to hear this guy. He's so full of shit. He's so full of shit. His eyes are turning brown, as I would say. But yeah, I was telling the girl on the walkway about this, and she's like, yeah, she reads the list. She knows where they all live. I go, man, you're just like me. Well, she says it's sort of a hobby with her. She goes out for a run, and then she'll just stop being. She'll just stop and talk to someone. Why would you not talk to someone that you don't know? You might learn something. You might, like she learned from me that's the trail going in. She says to me, what are they doing? I got to put trail. And she says, I knew you would know. That's how I'm known. When I come up on you, I already have, I'm going to say something to you. Like, I cut across the back of a parking lot. And that's where they give people the driving test. And I know the guys. And a lot of the people, when they're waiting for the son to finish the driving course to get their license, they go out on the road. And I'll come over and I'll say, you're going to need a new car. My joke is great because the person only gets to hear it once. They're only there once. I come across, I go, you're going to need another car. And they're like, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. And then we talk about the prices of insurance. And yeah, see, think about this. It's the opening line. Now, in the case of the girl on the ramp, I just started to point towards the construction for my new trail. And then she says, what is that going to be? I said, that's the new trail going in there. It's going to go to the other side. And she's like, oh, wait. She says, I knew you would know. But like I said, we stood there and we mentioned names. And I'm like, holy crap, you know them too. But she knew people over in my neighborhood. And yeah, I know people over in her neighborhood. And like I said, online, each neighborhood has a group. And I know they see me. And the one big neighborhood I went to, they put signs up, we're watching you and all this. And I know he's no longer the HOA president. He resigned about a month ago. He finished up. And I walked with him after he lost his wife and stuff like that. Yeah, that's what I do. I walk around and some people, they're happy to see you. Some people they're like, oh man, I don't know. And I kid them. I said, if I'm talking too long, and you don't want to hear this stuff, just say you got to go. Like the couple. So anyway, as I'm on this ramp, this couple comes by me. I know them. They just moved to the area. So they go by me. They got a dog. They walk over in Floyd Park. So after I talk to the girl, I go down the ramp to look at the other side where the trail goes in. And then I see them. They're walking all along the new little stream that's been landscaped. And it's been they redid the sides with timber so it doesn't wash out when it rains heavy. But it looks nice. So anyway, I'm down there with them. And they're asking me. I said, no. I said, didn't you see the big timbers? Yeah, they only come down once or twice. And so I said, they had to redo this. I said, remember I told you about Menno, the goat man? Yeah. I said, that water comes down from the highway. That's why it's so much. And I said, it flooded his chicken coop. And I'm talking, the top of the chicken coop has got to be 10 foot. And those chickens, they could get up high enough, but they still drowned. And they're like, whoa, I said, it's that deep. It does get that deep down here. And then I told them about the path. I said, that's the new walking trail. I said, you'll be able to walk the dog up there and come out in another section. It's going to be nice. So I told him, and then I mentioned about the guy yesterday, the pedophile. And then I realized where they lived. I said, you got one over there. And I told them the street. See, I can't say the street name. So when you go in to look at the Megan Law list, you have to agree to certain things. And I can't say what street, but it would be funny if I actually knew where they lived. Would it be funny that the pedophile lives right next door to them? But I said, basically, they go after little children. I said, the only thing you'd have to worry if you have your grandchildren over, maybe, you got to keep an eye out with strangers. You just have to. Even people that you know really well will molest your children. It's a hit and miss sort of thing. And like I said, I'm learning. I'm still naive, but not quite as naive anymore. But yesterday, I really let that guy, you get too close. You spit when you talk. And then I go home and this guy's a pedophile. Yeah, all the things that was wrong with me, according to him. He's this big fat glump. And he can't walk too far because he's so overweight. Yeah, I have so much wrong with me. And then I find out he's a pedophile. Oh, that was great yesterday. I was like, but these adventures happen because I go out of the house. And some people do have adventures happen to them. Someone will come up and ring their doorbell and kick their front door in. And We had that in my old neighborhood. The kids were selling drugs out of the house. And then one of the guys that's like an enforcer or just wants to come to the house and rob them because they know there's going to be money in there. So the one there was like, they just come up the street and kick the door down and rob them. I said, listen to me, there's more going on over there than you know. And then finally, they did the bust on the house. But we knew those kids that grew up. We knew they were going to be bad when they got older. And most of them straightened out. But that's the old neighborhood. But it's so funny. When the neighborhood was first together, this is my old neighborhood. The women stayed home. Nobody got away with any kind of shit. And then we had different kinds of people moving into the neighborhood where both the husband and the wife went to work and the kids were on their own. And that's, idle hands, devil's playground, something like that. Anyway, yeah. But it's funny. It makes my day when I'm out walking and I meet somebody that'll stand there and we exchange information. We both know the same people. And then she's like, yeah, you hung out with me a couple times at the yard sales. I know exactly who she is now. She's with her son. He was selling his Legos or whatever the last time. And it was right in the middle of the neighborhood. I stopped there and saw what she had for sale. And then we got talking like we did. See, people that are out there put themselves out there. I'm not running for mayor. I used to kid this one girl. When she's in the fire department, she's so well known by so many people. I said, at some point you're going to run for mayor. But anyway, I think it might happen. But in other words, I can't mention someone that she doesn't know. And it's funny. And then some of the people are unconscious. They've been here for 25 years and they don't know anybody. And the one guy used to say to me, I know you. And I would say, and then I go by him. And him and that crazy lady, he died, and she went to the old age home. She kept bragging about it. She lasted a year and so many months. But they would have these names, like the people down the street. They didn't know their names. The house with the solar cells, the solar cell house. The house with the red door. You had to hear the way they talked. And I know their names. In a lot of cases, I knew their last names. How could you live in a spot for 25 years and not know any of the neighbors? But everybody knew Crazy Lady. That's what they called her. They said, did you ever deal with her? I said, yeah, a few times now. And they tell me their stories, and holy crap, But a Crazy Lady ended up, she started getting crazy, real crazy. And she went out in the middle of the night. First, she started emailing the guy. The little girl had this inflatable water sprinkler in the backyard, and Crazy Lady lived in front of them. And Crazy Lady built up this thing in her head that thing was going to take off with the wind and wrap around her heating unit. It's heating and cooling. Oh man, now I'm going to figure out what that is. It's an air conditioner, but it's also a heat pump. So it's going to wrap around the heat pump and strangle it. I had the letters. She was carbon copying them to me. And I go, this woman's off the edge. And I would go talk to those people. Well, she snuck out in the middle of the night with a knife and she cut up the pool. And those people scared the crap out of them. And then I went over and talked to them. And then George, who lived with Crazy Lady, he went over and paid for it. And then she realized what she did. And she stopped drinking for a few weeks. I can see all this now. They're both dead. Oh my God. And I'm in between it. And they're like, we just moved in here. We're having these problems. We have a little girl. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I said, this stuff happens in neighborhoods. You watch the news on TV. Now it's here. But yeah, George paid for the pool. And then Crazy Lady, he had a long talk with her. But oh my God. Yeah. See, I only know this because I walk out of my house and I walk down. Now, who did I ask? I think I asked that woman. Yeah, I asked her. I said, do you ever just stand there and they tell you all their problems? She goes, oh, yeah. I go, they're venting. Yeah. It's like, oh, my God. And we were laughing because we both are doing the same thing. Only I'm walking, she's running. But you figure if she's running, she's not going to stop and talk to her. Bang, she just stops. She's like, hey, how you doing? She know me. And I go, oh man, and I knew she's maybe from that neighborhood. And I said, you know me, right? Yeah. I said, you're over there? Yeah. I said, you know me from the art show? Yeah. Then I said, you're not the woman that helped me with the Chinese woman. And she says, no. And she heard the story, but I gave her the facts straight from the horse's mouth. And she's going, you got to be kidding. I said, that's what I do. That's what I do. The woman's in the middle of the street. I was just told by the daughter, who never would speak English to me, that the mom's missing. There she is. And she won't go near me because I look homeless. And then that's why I asked her, were you the girl? I said, the girl pulled up an app in Chinese on the Apple, was able to sort of communicate with her. And then I knew the woman wasn't right. And she's all the way over there. The cops didn't believe it's the same woman. Oh, my God. And I'm telling her, she's going, yeah, I let the F word out. I said, yeah, the cops, they're not that bright here. They're not bright. I don't know how they catch anybody. The one time the guy pulls up to me, I'm litter picking on the street, and the cop says to me, did you just see somebody run by there? I go, yeah, over there. He's over there behind that shed. Go get him. Go get him. Yeah, the guy, I think he robbed Wawa. Grabbed something and ran out. And then he ran past me, and I sort of watch everything. And then when the cop car came down, he ducked in, but he didn't get. He was still in my view, and he was annoying me because I knew he was up to something. And I said to the cop, I said, yeah, you see that shed there? He's right behind there. Go get him. But when you're out on the street all day long, you see all kinds of stuff. But I don't find any money anymore. That's what I told you. I used to find money, and that lottery ticket, that Mega Millions, it's $5 a ticket now. I used to walk around, not even working hard, out on the Magic Mile or the Miracle Mile. I walk along, 4 quarters, go get a lottery ticket. Actually, I used to get them in the. I kept saying I went to Walmart, but Wawa has a machine. I forgot about Wawa. I rarely go in there anymore. It's too expensive. And right next door, they're putting the sheets in. So let them battle it out. I go to Walmart for most of my stuff now. I'm tired of overpaying for everything. But the Walmart can get you too. But anyway, I'm walking this morning back from all this, and I'm like, wait a minute. There was a guy, a greeter in Walmart. He had a cane, and he go, "Hello there, young man." So I'm walking along, and the voice in my head does the "Hello, young man." I'm thinking, like, wait a minute, what the hell happened to that guy? Now the other guy I used to meet, he got hurt in the auto section, and he put in a claim, and they got rid of him. I moved to another store, him and his wife. I haven't seen him now. I get to know people, and then you don't see them ever again. Even the managers in Walmart. One time they had these little electric carts, and someone took a couple of them down into the park. So I went in the store, and the guys are being jerks, and I'm like, no, you get the manager out here. And I stood there, and the manager come out. Of course, he knows me. At break time, he'd come back in my neighborhood and walk around. So you know me, right? Yeah. I said, you got 2 electric carts down in the Floyd Park, and they went down that famous ramp I tell you about. And I said they ran out of charge. So whoever took them, they drove around a little bit down in the parking lot, and then they ran them down. So we went down, and I helped them. We pushed it all the way up. We brought one up, and then the other one. And he was always nice to me, but he's not there anymore. People pass through here. No one stays here. It's like Las Vegas. Is this thing still recording? All right. I think that's it. All right. That's it.